Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel, and thank you for joining me for my first live video. I am pretty nervous. Believe it or not, I'm a little bit camera shy, which people ask, like, why do you do YouTube if you're camera shy? Well, it's one of those things that you kind of just have to do to get over your fear, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. But I wanted to discuss the Karen Read trial. I am a little bit behind. And for my first live video, I kind of just wanted to give myself a softball video so I can kind of get the hang of it, see how everything works. And I wanted to react to the Karen Read voicemails that he left John O'Keefe. Throughout this trial, the people who believe that Karen Read is guilty, they kind of thought she was guilty before this trial even began, have been talking about these voicemails they believe are very incriminating, and apparently they're supposed to provide a motive for her murdering John O'Keefe. So I'm very curious to hear what these voicemails entail and if it changes my mind on her guilt. As of right now, I do believe that she should be found not guilty. That doesn't mean that my mind can't change just based on everything I've seen thus far. How the entire investigation was handled, it just leaves so much room for reasonable doubt that at this point, I can't see how the prosecution can overcome that or can resolve that reasonable doubt. But apparently these voicemails are supposed to do that. So let's go ahead and listen to these voicemails and see if perhaps my mind will change on whether or not Karen Read is guilty.
Showing the document, asking to review that.
Oh, let me put subtitles on. And I think I'm going to switch it to 125 for Lally.
Okay. You recognize that, sir?
Yes, it's
What do you recognize that?
sorry, Karen Read's phone call logs.
And that's specifically from January 28th and January 29th. Is that correct?
Yes, it starts the 28th at 12:33 to, I'm sorry, the 29th at 12:33 to 3:19 p.m. on the 29th.
And just for ease of reference, does it sort of go into descending order as far as the earlier calls are on the last page and then the more recent calls are on the first page?
Yes, that's correct.
May I approach her?
Yes.
Let's introduce them, isn't it? Can we approach, please?
Okay, they are approaching. Let's see if I can. Nope, still approaching. Oh, long sidebar. Okay.
Yes.
Showing you another document, sir. Do you recognize that?
Yes,
What do you recognize that to be?
this is Karen Read and Carrie Roberts' call log.
And that's an attraction report that you created from the defendant's phone. Is that correct?
Yes. Sorry, yes.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
I want to seek to introduce the witness next.
Okay.
No objection.
With 634.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
Showing you another document, sir. Do you recognize that?
Yes,
What do you recognize that to be?
this is the chats from John O'Keefe and Chris Albert.
And again, that's an extraction report that you created from Mr. O'Keefe's phone. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to seek to introduce the witness next. No objection.
Mr. Lally, you really do need to keep this. With 635.
And may I approach? Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
Showing you another document, sir. Ask you to look at that. Hoping to finish.
Yes,
Do you recognize that, sir?
yes, this is Karen Read's the full chat report of everyone from the 29th on.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to seek to introduce the witness next. With no objection.
Oh, sorry. I should probably upgrade my YouTube.
I'm sorry. May I have the last one? May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank The returning to was found and marked as Exhibit 636. Your Honor, with court's permission, may I publish a portion of this to the jury?
Yes.
And sir, I'm going to direct your attention to the exhibit before you that's now been marked as Exhibit 636. And Ms. Gilman, if I could, I'm sorry, Mr. Magarino and Ms. Gilman, if I could direct your attention to page 3. And you have that before you, sir?
Yes, I do.
And on page 3, who was that a conversation with?
Laura Sullivan.
And that conversation essentially continues from page 3 to page 6. Is that correct?
And Laura Sullivan was the sister, one of the Sullivan sisters. She was the one that was very close to John O'Keefe when I don't know if they were married, but she was pregnant and the father of her child had passed away. John O'Keefe kind of stepped up because he was best friends with him. He stepped up, made sure that Laura was kind of taken care of and became Laura's child's godfather. So that's who that is.
Yes, it does.
And so I'm going to ask you, similar to what I asked you the other day, if you could read from that conversation in its entirety, indicating who's speaking, content of what's being said, and the date and time associated with that message.
Yes. First message from Laura Sullivan at 12:45 p.m. on January 29th, 2022. Karen, it's Laura. Please call me. Karen says, hi, Laura, at 1:07 p.m. Karen then says, John passed away, 1:07 p.m. Laura, Karen, I'm shaking. I'm so sorry. At 1:07, Karen says, we found him outside in the snow at 5 a.m., 1:07 p.m. Laura, I can't stop crying, 1:07 p.m. again. Karen, thank you, 1:07.
Kind of a weird response.
And Laura finally says, why was he out there, 1:07 p.m. Oh, sorry. Karen replies, he left the party we were at. I don't know what time. I didn't even go in. I went to bed. That's at 1:08 p.m.
So I saw
Laura says,
some people saying that Karen said that she was sleeping, but she said she went to bed. And there is a difference. When I go to bed, I'm not necessarily asleep. Like I might be texting or on the phone or something like that. And some people are saying that Karen Reed's lying because how could she be asleep if she was calling and texting John O'Keefe all night long? But that seems perfectly logical that she said she's in bed, not necessarily asleep.
My God, 1:08. Karen, my heart breaks for everyone at 1:09 p.m. So.
Thank you. So in those text messages, Ms. Sullivan, in the afternoon of the 29th, she indicates to Ms. Sullivan that they located Mr. O'Keefe around 5 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Now, sir, if I could direct your attention to page 28 to 29 of those messages in the exhibit before you. Page 28 to 29, who's that conversation with?
This is Karen Reed and John O'Keefe.
These are conversations from the early. These conversations on page 28 through 29 of this exhibit occur in the early morning hours of January 29th, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And if you could, sir, again, please read as far as who's speaking, what they're saying, and what date and time these are being sent.
Yes. So Karen Reed to John O'Keefe at 12:55 a.m. on the 29th. I'm going home. Followed by, see you later. At 1:02 a.m., she texts John again saying, your kids are cucking alone. And at 1:04 a.m., she says, I'm back in Mansfield. The kids are home alone.
So these text messages already, this is at 1:04 a.m., which would be after she allegedly hit John O'Keefe. And for her to say, I'm back in Mansfield, we know that's not true because when she wakes up, she is at John O'Keefe's house. It sounds like she is trying to bait him into coming back. That's my impression of it. Why would she tell him the kids are home alone if she knows that she hit him with her car and he was dying in the snow? She's completely baiting him to come back.
Thank you. May I approach this retreat?
Yes.
May I have a moment, Sharon?
Yes.
approach.
Yes.
We're going to fast forward through this.
My schedule's pretty jam-packed.
Sorry, guys.
I've got 2. We know 3 birthday parties.
I'm going to have to upgrade my YouTube. Like I said, never done a live before, so bear with me.
You recognize each of those documents, sir?
Yes, one is a Karen Reed call log report. Just want to confirm which one this is. For John O'Keefe, and then John O'Keefe's full call log report on the 29th.
Now, sir, if I could direct your attention to the defendant, Ms. Reed's call log reports, and specifically, if I could draw your attention to what's been, they're enumerated as far as certain box numbers, correct? 1 through whatever it goes on the last page.
Yes.
If I could direct your attention to boxes 113 and 114.
Okay.
See those entries, sir?
Yes.
Now, as far as the time related to box 113 and 114, what are the timestamps associated with that?
129/2022 at 12:36 a.m. 41 seconds, and then another one at 12:36 and 10 seconds a.m. on the 29th.
And is there any indication within that report as far as whether or not those calls are answered, those calls are missed, those calls are rejected? What's listed?
It says answered.
And we'll get to this a little bit more in a moment, but with regard to that 12:36 time, from your review of both the defendant's phone and Mr. O'Keefe's phone, is there a voicemail that the defendant left Mr. O'Keefe at that time frame?
There was a voicemail at 12:37 a.m.
So it wasn't a
These ones
butt
here,
dial.
It looks like they're 3 seconds and 5 seconds.
And they're listed as answered, is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, sir, if I could turn your attention over to Mr. O'Keefe.
See, this is what I also find to be very interesting is that the prosecution has gone through so many different witnesses trying to disprove their phone records, saying that all of these butt dials were never answered or whatever else. They just happened to not leave voicemails. But when it comes to Karen Reed's phone details, all of these are supposed to be 100% accurate. Like, you can't really have it both ways, right?
And specifically, I'm going to ask you to direct your attention to what's been labeled as box number 134 and then 134 with a 1 in parentheses. Following.
Okay.
And do you see those entries, sir?
Yes.
And what is the date and time associated with those entries in Mr. O'Keefe's records?
His record shows number 134 is 12:36, 9 seconds on the 29th, and then 134 with the 1 in the parentheses, 12:36 and 9 seconds as well. But call duration 0 seconds.
And as far as any indication on those calls, as far as whether they're answered, they're missed, they're rejected, or what are they listed as?
There's nothing. Also 133 is the same call. That one says missed, and it's at the same timestamp of 12:36 and 9 seconds.
So the same call around the same time frame shows up in Mr. O'Keefe's report as missed and shows up in the defendant's report as answered, correct?
That is correct.
And that is around the time that the defendant is calling the victim repeatedly and leaving voicemails on Mr. O'Keefe's phone.
Yes, that's correct.
May I approach this to retrieve, Your Honor?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, Trooper Garino, you conducted an analysis of both the defendant's phone and Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
That's correct.
And from your analysis of that phone, were you able to determine approximately how many calls occurred from the defendant's phone to Mr. O'Keefe's phone from the time period shortly after 12:30 a.m. To the time period shortly after 6 a.m.?
There was over 50. I think it was 53 or 55.
And any
That's a lot of phone
do
calls.
those records indicate any sort of conversation as far as duration, as far as being labeled as answered, anything to that effect?
That Mr. O'Keefe actually picked up the phone and spoke to Ms. Reed?
Yes.
No.
Now, with regards to those phone calls from the defendant to Mr. O'Keefe, what, if anything, did you find from Mr. O'Keefe's phone in relation to voicemails left by the defendant?
There were should be 8 voicemails on Ms. O'Keefe's phone from the 29th till the phone was discovered. All from Ms. Reed, no one else.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Again, he said nobody else. If you remember, Jen McCabe had called his phone a number of times. I think it was 6 times. And none of those calls left voicemails. None of those butt dials. She happened just to hang up each time before it left a voicemail. That's weird to me.
When you were this, sir, you recognize that?
Yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
It's the John O'Keefe voicemails from Karen Reed on his phone.
From that period that we were just speaking about on January 29th?
Yes, that's correct.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to introduce the minutes of the next exhibit. We have no objection. Now, sir, from your review of the defendant's phone, before we get to those, from your review of the defendant's phone, what, if anything, were you able to observe or ascertain that the defendant's phone did at approximately 12:36 a.m.?
So by looking at the timeline in the phone, we were able to see that Miss Reed's phone auto-connected to John O'Keefe's Wi-Fi at his house at 12:36 a.m.
What?
Password.
Her phone was connected to John O'Keefe's Wi-Fi at 12:36. Didn't Lally say in his opening statement that she hit him at 12:45? Maybe I'm mistaken, but I'm pretty certain that he said she hit him at 12:45. And he has all of this information before this trial begins. 12:36, she was at John O'Keefe's house.
For protected access to the phone, so you would have to know the password to get into this Wi-Fi network.
And that would be the home in 1 minute after, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Not to mention that leaves a very short window.
Publish each of the 8 voicemails to the jury.
Okay, here's the voicemails. Let's see how bad these really are. Again, I'm still keeping an open mind.
And Trooper Greeno, again, similar to the other messages, just for point of reference, the earliest of the voicemails is the last in the list, and the most recent is at the top of the list. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, as far as this first voicemail, what time did this occur?
12:37 a.m.
With permission, if I could play that for the jury.
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you could have the second message.
John, I effing hate
I never
you.
thought that the shirt
Oh my
I wore to
gosh.
school one spring morning would lead to a federal lawsuit. But
Try
the
again.
reaction from
Sorry, Ms. Gilman, if you would pause right there, please. My apologies, I just wanted the siren to go by. Before Ms. Gilman presses play again, Trooper Greeno, what time is the second message?
12:42.
Ms. Gilman, if you could.
It almost sounds like her boots. Like she's walking around.
Now, Trooper Greeno, with reference to the third message, what time is that received?
12:59.
Again, when I say received by Mr. O'Keefe's phone, is that correct?
That's the timestamp of the voicemail in his phone. Yes.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could, with reference to that third message.
John, I'm here with your fucking kid. Nobody knows what the fuck you want. Fucking
Now, the fourth
Okay.
message, Trooper Greeno.
Nobody knows where you are. I'm with your kids. And then she calls him an effing pervert. Again, this isn't telling me that she knows that she hit him. This is telling me that, like, why would she even go back with his kids if she didn't think he was going to come back? Like, it sounds like she didn't want the kids to be alone, so she went back there waiting for him to come home, and he never did. And she's pissed. She's clearly pissed. But none of this so far is showing me any type of knowledge or motive for hitting John O'Keefe.
What time was that received by Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
1:02 a.m.
Ms. Gilman, if you could, when you're ready.
That was it.
So can we just turn the air conditioner off for just a second?
So there was another voicemail. I guess there wasn't any.
Yeah, Your Honor, there was no content. It was just like a 1
Why
second
even
long,
play that? I don't know.
message.
And Trooper Garino, with regard to the fifth message, what time was that received by Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
1:11 a.m. Excuse me.
Ms. Gilman, if you could.
Yes, 1 in the morning, I'm gonna fucking niece and nephew. You fucking pervert. You're a fucking pervert.
And the sixth message, sir, what time was that received by Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
1:18 a.m.
Gilman, if you could.
John, I'm going home. I cannot babysit Amy. I need to go home. You are fucking using me right now. You're fucking another girl. She's living next to me. You're a fucking loser. Fuck yourself.
And the seventh message, sir, what time was that received by Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
5:23 a.m.
Ms. Gilman, if you could. The last and eighth message, sir, what time was that received by Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
6:08 a.m.
Ms. Gilman, if you could. Gilman, if you could pause there for 1 second, I'm sorry. With respect to this message received on Mr. O'Keefe's phone at 6:08 a.m., from your knowledge of the investigation, where was the defendant, who, if anyone, was with or around her at the time of this message at 6:08 a.m.?
Jen McCabe, Kerry Roberts. During the message, you can hear someone on the phone with 911.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gilman, if you could.
I think that's the windshield wipers. She sounds like she's in shock.
Thank you, Ms. Gilman.
Can we turn the air conditioning back on? Thank you very much.
Now, Trooper Garino, in addition to the 53 phone calls that you testified about, the defendant made to Mr. O'Keefe from that time frame following 12:30 a.m. to approximately just past 6 a.m., did you note any other calls to contacts listed within the defendant's phone as mom?
Yes.
And when were those calls placed?
I believe there's one at 1:10-ish in the morning. I forget the exact timestamp. There's also one at around 4:40 in the morning, and then at 4:42, right around 4 in the morning. Two of them, the first two weren't answered, and then the third phone call was answered.
Now, with respect to Ms. Reed's phone from that same time period, what, if any, phone calls did you observe to a contact listed in the defendant's phone as dad?
It's the same number. So when I looked at it in one report, it showed as dad, and then when I looked at it in Celebrate, it came up as mom. So I don't know how it's attributing. Maybe she has it listed twice. I never looked at her actual phone, so this is what the extraction is showing me.
So she called her parents? That's not strange to me. I don't know why the prosecution brought that up. But okay. There are the voicemails that were supposed to be incriminating. Again, I feel like this has kind of been the trend for this entire prosecution, where they overpromised and underdelivered. After listening to those voicemails, I think they even helped Karen Reed's case, because she went to John O'Keefe's house when she wasn't supposed to. She wasn't planning on going there. But it sounds like she didn't want the kids to be left alone. And then she's waiting for John O'Keefe to come home, and he's not. And she sounds pissed. She feels like she's being used, which, again, I said this in one of my previous videos. It kind of correlates or matches with what Carrie Roberts allegedly told Jen McCabe, that Karen Reed was just a babysitter with benefits. And that sounds like that's exactly how she felt. She felt like John O'Keefe was taking advantage of her and basically just wanted her to watch the kids while he's off drinking. She thinks that he's cheating. She sounds pissed, but it doesn't sound to me like she knew or intended that she hit John O'Keefe. This response doesn't match what somebody who hit somebody with their vehicle would do in the hours afterwards. I don't know. I'm not seeing it. Again, I had all of these people just say, oh, wait till you hear the voicemails. That's it. Clearly, it wasn't a healthy relationship, but it doesn't seem as if she intended to hit him. I don't even believe that she did at this point. There has been not really any evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she did hit him. They're really just grasping at straws to me at this point. Again, these voicemails don't really help their case. And I believe just after a couple of these witnesses, the prosecution rests. So there's really not much more for them to go off of. And it's been 8 weeks, over 50, 60 witnesses at this point. I don't see how they're going to come to guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Where are you standing as of right now? Do you think Karen Reed is guilty? If you disagree with me, I'd love to hear what you think. What are you seeing that perhaps I'm not seeing to show that she's guilty? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Make sure you like this video before you go, and I'll see you guys in the next one.